The alert on my phone didn't say, family. It said, high-level security breach. I was sitting in a secure conference room at my investment fund in Austin, mid-briefing on a data integrity case, when my secure phone, not my personal one, lit up. An alert I had configured, but never, ever expected to see. Violation residence. I excused myself. My heart suddenly cold and steady. I pulled up the encrypted feed. And I watched. I watched my sister, Jessica, in my home office. She'd already bypassed the decoy lock and was jimmying open my corporate safe. And when she pulled out the hardware wallet, a $1.2 million corporate asset belonging to a client, and tossed it into her designer bag like a cheap lipstick, I realized the system was right. Have you ever felt like the boring one in your family? The one nobody bothered to understand? Let me know your story down in the comments. To understand Jessica, you have to understand my family's operating system. It doesn't run on love or support. It runs on presentation. My sister Jessica was the golden child. She wasn't really a person. She was an Instagram feed. Her entire life was a carefully curated performance of avocado toast, sponsored trips she couldn't afford, and expertly filtered sunsets. She was an influencer. A job title that, in our family, was treated with the same reverence as curing cancer. And then there was me, Isabella, the black sheep. The quiet one? The boring one. I am the head of digital forensics for a multi-billion-dollar private investment fund. I track ghost assets through encrypted networks. I investigate high-level corporate fraud. And I hold a security clearance that required federal agents to interview my high school chemistry teacher. To my family, I work with computers. I can still feel the polite boredom of those Sunday dinners. My father, Michael, would raise his glass. To Jessica, 50,000 new followers this month. Can you believe it? My mother, Jennifer, would just beam. Oh, it's just wonderful. All her friends say she just glows. Then, inevitably, all eyes would turn to me, sitting there in my plain blouse. And how are things at the office? Isabella, Mom would ask, her voice already drifting. I used to try. I'd say, it's going well. I just got my new cybersecurity certification. And I'm leading the investigation into the... Oh, honey, please. Dad would laugh, cutting me off. Don't bore everyone with the technical jargon. He'd pat my arm. Just say you work in IT? It's fine. It wasn't fine. It was erasure. They bragged about Jessica's 50,000 followers. But they never once asked about the $50 million in assets I helped recover for our clients last quarter. They never asked why my apartment had reinforced locks. Or why I couldn't just talk about my work trips. They just assumed I was nothing. A quiet, reliable, boring utility. And that's why they gave her a key to my apartment. It's just for emergencies. Honey, Mom had said, patting my hand a few months ago. What if something happens? Jessica is so close by. And she's so good with people. I knew what it really meant. It meant they didn't believe I had a single thing in my life worth protecting. They trusted Jessica's empty charm more than they respected my boundaries. They saw her as the asset, and me as the administrator. They had no idea that their boring daughter, the one who just worked with computers, was responsible for protecting assets that could buy Jessica's entire curated lifestyle 100 times over. They didn't see me. They saw a ghost in a pantsuit. And that's why, watching my sister on that encrypted feed, I wasn't just angry. I was awake. They assumed I had nothing of value. They were about to find out, in very specific, legally binding detail, just how wrong they were. I watched the encrypted feed go dark as she disconnected from my network. I sat there, in that cold, secure conference room in Austin. The hum of the servers was the only sound. Then my personal phone buzzed on the table. A text from Jessica. Hey, just stopped by your place, hope you don't mind. I borrowed that super cute USB thingy on your desk for a new vlog. My eyes scanned the rest of the message. Also, Dad says everyone has to be at La Vista tonight at 7. We have a huge announcement. Don't be late. I read the text twice. A super cute USB thingy. $1.2 million. And that was it. It wasn't a roar of anger. It wasn't a wave of sadness. It was the sharp, silent snap of a structural support giving way. The illusion I'd been holding up my entire life. The idea that if I was just quieter, just smarter, just better, they would eventually see me. It all just evaporated. I didn't call Jessica. I didn't call my mother to scream. I locked my personal phone. I stood up. My boss, the firm's head of security, was still looking at the data on the main screen. I walked over to him. "Sir," I said. My voice was perfectly steady. "We have an active breach." He turned, sensing the change in the room. "What breach? The network is stable?" "A physical breach," I said, meeting his gaze. "A corporate asset containing $1.2 million in client funds has been physically compromised at my residence. I have the perpetrator on video." His entire demeanor changed. The air crackled. He understood. This was real. "Go," he said, pointing to his office. "Make the call." I walked into his office as he and the team began initiating protocol, alerting legal, alerting the executive board, alerting the FBI. Because our fund is federally insured. I sat at his desk, and as I waited for the secure line to connect to our internal investigations team, the real pain hit me. It wasn't the money. The money was data. It was insured. It was traceable. It was encrypted. My company would get it back. It was the text. A cute USB thingy. For a vlog. It was the pain of invisibility. It was the sudden, crushing realization that I had spent 29 years being aggressively, profoundly unseen. They hadn't just stolen a piece of hardware. They had stolen my entire professional identity, crushed it into a cute object, and decorated it with a pink emoji. All those years of nodding along at dinner, all those, "Oh, that's nice, honey," comments from my mother, all those condescending, "How's the computer job?" questions from my father. They weren't just passively ignorant. They were aggressively incurious. They had actively chosen, year after year, to see me as a simple, boring, harmless utility, a background character in the dazzling show of Jessica's life. They looked at a top-tier forensics investigator and saw a hobbyist. They looked at a $1.2 million encrypted asset and saw a toy. This wasn't a betrayal. A betrayal requires a baseline of respect to begin with. This was an audit, and I had just received the final, devastating report. The line picked up. Internal investigations. "This is Isabella." I took a breath. The daughter was gone. The lead investigator was on the clock. "This is Isabella. I am officially reporting a high-level asset compromise. Send a team to La Vista restaurant at 7:30 p.m. And you're going to need the FBI." I arrived at La Vista at 7 p.m. sharp. The restaurant was exactly what you'd expect, the kind of place that mistakes high prices for class. All dark wood, loud chatter, and waiters who looked exhausted. And there, at the best table in the center of the room, was my family. Jessica was glowing, a performance artist at the peak of her craft. She wore a white dress that probably cost more than my monthly utilities. Her hair professionally blown out for her big announcement. My mother, Jennifer, was practically vibrating with second-hand pride, touching her own hair as if to match. My father, Michael, sat back with a satisfied look, the proud patriarch. And next to Jessica, looking smugger than I'd ever seen him, was her husband, Ryan, a man who sold suburban starter homes and acted like he was the Wolf of Wall Street. I slid into the remaining chair. "Sorry I'm late. Busy day at the office." "Oh, Isabella," Mom gushed, not even looking at me. Her eyes locked on Jessica. "We're so glad you made it." Jessica was just about to tell us the big news. Ryan flagged down a waiter. "A bottle of your most expensive champagne," he boomed, loud enough for the tables nearby to hear. "We're celebrating." Jessica giggled. That high-pitched, practiced sound she used for her vlogs. "Oh, Ryan. Stop. It's our news." "To my amazing wife," Ryan said. As the champagne was poured, he raised his glass. "And to our new investment." My parents raised their glasses. To the investment? What's the investment? I asked. My voice quiet. I picked up my water glass. Jessica's eyes sparkled with a manic. Desperate light. We're starting our own lifestyle brand. But, like, legit this time. We've secured major funding. Oh. It's just wonderful. Mom said. This is what she was always meant to do. And then, Jessica reached up to her neck. My blood went absolutely still. She had taken the hardware wallet, the $1.2 million corporate asset, and attached it to a cheap, gaudy gold chain. It was hanging between her collarbones like a trophy. And I have to thank my big sister, she chirped, wiggling the chain, making the wallet glint under the restaurant lights. She lent me this adorable little thing for my new project. It's my good luck charm. My mother turned to me, her eyes filled with rare approval. See, Isabella, that's so nice. It's wonderful when you finally share your little computer toys. I just smiled. It was a thin, tight smile. I didn't say anything. I just watched. The champagne flowed. Ryan got louder, his face turning red. After his third glass, he leaned across the table, sloshing his drink, and clapped me on the shoulder. No. Seriously. Izzy. He slurred, his voice a conspiratorial whisper that carried across the room. I've got to thank you. I told Jess you wouldn't mind. I kept my expression perfectly neutral. Oh. Yeah, he laughed. I did the research. He tapped the side of his head. Those little bitcoins? They're worth a lot of money. A lot. We're just... He winked. We're just diversifying the portfolio for you. Helping you out. He leaned in closer, his breath smelling like cheap champagne and desperation. Our guy says he can clean it for us by Monday. Cash it out. Easy peasy. And there it was. The deeper twist. Jessica wasn't the shark. She was the pilot fish. Ryan was the one steering her. He was the co-conspirator. The idiot mastermind who thought cleaning a federally insured, forensically traceable corporate asset was as simple as our guy said. I looked at my sister as she laughed at something my father said. And in that moment, I didn't feel anger. I felt a cold, profound pity. I realized I was looking at a product. This was the golden child syndrome, in its final, catastrophic stage. Jessica had been taught, from birth, that consequences were for other people. She was never taught how to be, only how to look. Her entire life was built on a foundation of, as long as it looks good on Instagram. The truth doesn't matter. The debt didn't matter. The lies didn't matter. The theft didn't matter. She was so hollowed out by the pressure to perform perfection that she let this idiot, Ryan, convince her that grand larceny was just another life hack. He wasn't her husband. He was just her next enabler. The one who took over after our parents had done their work. They weren't evil. They were just empty. I looked at Ryan's smug, flushed face. He truly believed he'd just gotten away with it. He believed I was the family fool. I picked up my water. Wow. Ryan, I said softly. That sounds incredibly ambitious. He beamed. That's me. Izzy. Go big or go home. My secure phone vibrated in my pocket. A single, one-word text from my boss. Here. I put my water glass down. You're right. Ryan, I said, standing up. Go big or go home. I placed my linen napkin on the table. The restaurant noise seemed to fade to a dull roar. Jessica. Ryan, I said. My voice was calm, but it cut through their champagne haze. I'm so glad you're both this excited about your new venture. Jessica beamed. Aw. Thanks. Easy, I knew you'd get it. I finally do. I said. I pulled my corporate tablet from my bag, unlocked it with my thumb, and placed it on the table between them. And I hit play. The video was crystal clear. Encrypted. Government grade. It showed my home office. It showed Jessica fumbling with the decoy lock, then finding the real safe. It showed her using an app to crack it. It showed her pulling out the hardware wallet. Ryan squinted. What is this? Izzy. Some kind of joke. A vlog you're making, he laughed. But the sound was thin and cracked. My father, Michael, started to look confused. Isabella. What is this? Turn it off. That, I said, my voice dropping into the register I use for depositions, is a video. Time-stamped to 3:14 p.m. this afternoon. I looked directly at Jessica. Her smile was frozen. Her eyes wide. That, I said, is you, Jessica. Committing, breaking, and entering. That is you defeating a corporate-grade security safe. And that is you stealing a $1.2 million, fully traceable corporate asset that belongs to my firm's clients. Silence. Not just at our table. The entire restaurant seemed to have gone quiet. The color drained from Ryan's face. He looked like a fish. Jessica's hand flew to her neck, clutching the wallet. Isabella. My father's voice was a low growl. Stop this. Now. And that's when they walked in. Two men, in impeccable dark suits, I recognized instantly from our firm's corporate security team. And a woman, in a sharp, practical blazer, who flashed her badge, almost imperceptibly. FBI. Cybercrime. They moved past the terrified host and walked directly to our table. Jessica Miller, Ryan Miller, the lead security agent's voice was polite, but absolute. We need you to come with us. Now. It was my mother who broke. She shot up from her chair, knocking her champagne glass over. The liquid spread across the white tablecloth like a stain. No! She shrieked. The entire restaurant was staring. What is this, Isabella? Stop this. Stop it. This is insane. This is a family matter. She is your sister. Her voice was raw, pleading, furious. The same voice she'd used my whole life to defend Jessica. To erase me. I looked at her. The woman who had never, not once, stood up for me. And I felt nothing. Just the cold, clean finality of the truth. This was the moment. This was the collision. You're right. Mom, I said, my voice quiet, but it sliced through her hysteria. You are 100% right. In our family system, the one you and Dad built, Jessica is gold, and I'm the trash. In that system, she can steal from me, lie to me, and you will protect her. And I will be told to share my toys. I paused, letting the words hang in the air. But we're not in the family system tonight. I nodded toward the federal agent, who was watching Ryan with the predatory stillness of a hawk. We are in the professional system. A system built on federal wire fraud law. A system of corporate accountability. Of digital forensics. Of binding client contracts. A system that doesn't care about golden children or hurt feelings. I turned my eyes to Jessica. She was trembling, her mascara starting to run. And in this system, Mom, I'm not the boring daughter. I am the lead investigator. My word is evidence. And they... I looked at Jessica and Ryan with final, chilling clarity. Arrefelons. Tonight, I finished. The professional system wins. The lead agent nodded to his partner. Ma'am, he said to Jessica. The device around your neck. It's corporate property. We'll be taking it as evidence. As he reached forward, Jessica didn't resist. She just collapsed. A full-body sob. The kind her Instagram followers never saw. She slumped forward onto the table, her perfect hair falling into the spilled champagne. As the agent calmly unclipped the $1.2 million good luck charm from around her neck, Ryan just sat there, frozen, his mouth opening and closing. Our guy defense, evaporating. They were cuffed. Quietly. Professionally. As they were walked out of the restaurant. Past the dozens of staring, whispering diners. My mother just stood there, staring at me. Her face was a mask of pure, uncomprehending hatred. She hadn't heard a word I said. She just knew her world had broken. My father just looked old. He sank back into his chair and put his head in his hands. I picked up my bag, left the tablet on the table with the security footage still looping, and walked out. I didn't look back. The fallout was comprehensive. Jessica and Ryan were facing a spectacular combination of federal wire fraud charges, conspiracy, and, of course, the civil lawsuit my firm immediately filed. We weren't just suing for the $1.2 million. We were suing for the full cost of the investigation, the security upgrades, and the man-hours required to resecure the client's assets. The total came to just over $2.5 million. The Jessica Miller lifestyle brand evaporated overnight. Sponsor dropped her, like a toxic asset. Which, I suppose, she was. Her Instagram feed went from curated lattes to a wall of angry, spammy comments. Ryan's real estate license was suspended indefinitely. Pending the investigation, they were ruined. My parents, of course, tried to confront me. They showed up at my apartment, the one with the new military-grade security system I'd had installed a week after the arrest. My father, Michael, looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. Isabella, he said, his voice strained. How could you do this to your own family? My mother, Jennifer, just stood behind him, her arms crossed, her eyes burning with a hatred so pure, it was almost impressive. She didn't see a daughter, she saw a traitor. I looked at them, standing in my hallway, and I felt nothing. The old, aching need for their approval was just gone. Scoured, clean. I didn't do this. Dad, I said, my voice calm. I just turned on the lights. Jessica and Ryan did the rest. She's your sister, he pleaded. And she committed a federal crime. She stole from my clients. She and her husband planned to launder $1.2 million. Did you know that? It was just... She got confused. You and your computer toys. And that was it. I laughed. It was a cold, dry sound. My computer toys. Dad, I said. You've never once, in 29 years, actually asked me what I do. You bragged about Jessica's 50,000 followers. But you never bothered to ask about the $50 million I recovered for my firm last quarter. They stared, blankly. You want to talk about family? I continued. Stepping back. You and Mom created a family where image was the only currency. You're upset. Not because Jessica is a criminal, but because her brand is ruined. You're not angry that I was betrayed. You're angry that I stopped being invisible. I told them my salary. $280,000 a year. Before my annual bonus, which was often 6 figures. I told them my title. I told them about the commendations I've received from federal agencies. My father just shook his head. We didn't know. No, I said, moving to close the door. You didn't ask? This isn't a tragedy. This is the ledger being balanced. I shut the door. That was a year ago. Jessica and Ryan took a plea deal. They're both serving time in a low-security federal prison. They'll be paying restitution to my firm. Not to me for the rest of their lives. I was promoted. I'm a director now. I report directly to the CEO. Last month, I used my bonus to establish a scholarship fund for young women entering the cybersecurity field. Specifically for those who come from backgrounds where their talents are overlooked. My parents text me sometimes. We miss you. Your old room is here. I read the message this morning. I looked at it. Then, I put my phone down. Face down. On my desk. I'm not invisible anymore. Not because they finally see me, but because I finally stopped caring if they do. Sometimes, the hardest thing isn't being seen. It's stopping the wait for others to see your value. And just having value. Have you ever had to choose between your family's expectations and your own truth? Share your story in the comments. Thanks for listening.